们是共产主义接班人，继承革命先辈的光荣传统，爱祖国，爱人民，鲜艳的红领巾飘荡在鲜胸。
When you have the urge to go traveling in China, where is your first choice?
哎呀，我到过的城市很多哈，但是北京呢，因为我生活在北京，我很喜欢北京。
挺好的，北京不错，毕竟是自己的家乡嘛。
How much do you know about Beijing? That it's the Chinese capital? That it's got the Great Wall? And Peking duck?
北京，有很多文物古迹呀，很多地方可以去玩啊，然后还有很多文化特色啊，我们都可以去领略啊，这种感觉特别好。
好，是啊，白水养它。
If these reasons don't compel you to visit Beijing, why not spend 50 minutes listening to what they have to recommend? You may instantly change your mind.
But Beijing is my favorite place, definitely.
Beijing has a temperate continental monsoon climate with well-defined seasons and is surrounded by mountains on the north, east, south and west. The closest coastline is with Bohai to the southeast, 150 kilometers away. Although Beijing isn't close to the sea, the northern plains of China are one of the places with the most rainfall, and it's for this reason that Beijing has a lot of natural rivers and lakes. When the Mongols founded the Yuan dynasty in 1271 and became the masters of Beijing, these desert dwellers marveled at the large bodies of water they'd never seen before and called them all hai, or seas. That's why in Beijing there's the North Sea, the Middle Sea, the South Sea and Xisha Sea. From the Yuan dynasty to this day, Xishahai has remained the center of Beijing. With the coming of winter, Xishahai becomes a playground for the Beijingese.
驴费劲了。
对啊。
Digging holes in the ice may not be much fun unless you make a hole this big. Xishahai is Beijing's beachfront. In summer, you'll find countless people swimming. But in winter, all that's left are the real diehards.
水越冷当然越开心了，天气越冷我也开心啊，越刺激啊，冬天太刺激啊，夏天游就不舒服了。
冷吗，伯伯？现在你
不冷，没事。
Remember to warm up before you take a dip. One circuit, 2 circuits. This gentleman has done 3 circuits now. Oh, I almost forgot to mention, it's -8 degrees centigrade, so you can just imagine how chilly it must be.
I'm from the I'm from the 这是锻炼身体的那个程序。
Swimming in an icy lake may not be your idea of fun, but it's certainly a superb physical regimen that reputedly adds years to your life.
几乎没感冒过，什么腰酸腿疼啊什么的没有，就是精神就是特别好。
The snow doesn't intend to stop. As temperatures drop with the fall of night, it's so cold even your breath freezes instantly. At -16 degrees centigrade, the temporary swimming pool that is Qishahai freezes over again. But the aficionados are undeterred. Armed with ice picks, they're about to give it another go. 2 hours of digging for a dip of just 3 minutes. That's what I call dedication. But that's not the only fun to be had here. Tempted to join them in the ice rink? Then grab a chair and 2 barbecue forks. It's not that we're going for a barbecue. With slight modifications, the chair becomes a sled and the forks become ski poles. This sort of recycled equipment is the brainchild of business-minded operators who charge 5 renminbi or less than $1 for a ride. It's a business that requires no capital, and because it's so cheap, kids can play to their heart's content. The Qishahai Amusement Park, which is both a beach and an ice rink, is unique in Beijing and all of China. Now you know what to do if you find yourself in Beijing in the winter. If you're not brave enough to go into the water and find sleds or skates a bit juvenile, then you may be interested in high-speed skiing. The ski slopes of Beijing are mostly far from the city, being 4 or 5 hours drive away. If you want to save time, then this ski slope would be a good choice, because it's only a bit over an hour away by car. It's relatively well equipped. Although there aren't any ski lifts, there are motorized handlebars to help you ascend, so that you can ski down from any height you like. The skiing equipment is also of quite high quality. For $10, you can rent a full set of skiing equipment for an hour. And if you want a bit of excitement, for the same price you can also rent a snow cycle. If you want even more thrills, you can ride a snowmobile, although you only get to go up and down 4 times for $10. For someone who's used to skiing in Switzerland, Hokkaido or Korea, these things may not be particularly attractive. But the ski slopes of Beijing have unique pleasures to offer. The most popular piece of skiing equipment here is actually the inner tube, which you can rent for $6 an hour. It requires no skill, and it's suitable for young and old alike. Or indeed, for the whole family.
好玩，喜欢。
因为有这个滑雪场更加丰富了。
I hate to be a wet blanket, but I don't want to give you the wrong impression either. Although there is snowfall in Beijing, all the snow here is man-made. That doesn't matter though, because man-made snow is apparently finer than real snow and much better for skiing. Beijing has more tourist sites than you can count. But for the Chinese people, there's only one place which is the most representative.
每个人来了吧，都想到那个天安门啦、故宫啦，毛主席纪念塔啦。
因为天安门是中国的象征，是首都的象征，所以说我觉得我应该去天安门。不去天安门的话，对我来讲是终身的遗憾。
With a total of 440,000 square meters, Tiananmen Square is the world's largest public square, with room for over 1 million people. Tiananmen, or the Gate of Heavenly Peace, is situated north of the square, opposite Chairman Mao's memorial, and flanked by the Soviet-style Great Hall of the People and the Revolutionary and History Museums. In the center of the square is the solemn and dignified People's Heroes Memorial. The Gate of Heavenly Peace was built in the Ming Dynasty. Serving as the forecourt of the Imperial Palace or the Forbidden City, the gate symbolized the Emperor's supreme authority. It was atop the Gate Tower of Tiananmen that Mao Zedong announced the founding of the Chinese People's Republic on the 1st of October 1949. That's why Tiananmen is a sacred place in the hearts of 1.3 billion Chinese. Today, Tiananmen Square is open to visitors from all over the world and is no longer the mysterious place it used to be. Every dish you see here is a legend, because every one is the favorite of some great figure in Chinese history. This bitter gourd dish is called Chairman's Request, because that was what the chairman Mao Zedong did over and over again. This chicken dish, Xiaoping's spice of life, was something Deng Xiaoping was particularly fond of. This fish dish, the Flaming Dragon, was a favorite of the Qing Dynasty Emperor Qianlong. All these dishes can be found in this restaurant, Red Capital. It is converted from a quadrangle courtyard dating from over 100 years ago. The quadrangle courtyard is a type of architecture unique to Beijing. Consisting of rooms built around an open-air central courtyard, this was the typical sort of residence of the better off. Its greatest feature is that every beam and pillar is dovetail joined without the use of a single nail. For the sake of preserving this feature, all renovations here have been undertaken by Beijing's master craftsmen for a 100% Qing Dynasty feel. This feel doesn't just come from the architecture, it also comes from the Qing Dynasty dining hall. Every ornament here is a Qing Dynasty antique, the most valuable being this emperor's robe. The dragon is the symbol of China, and in the past, only emperors had the right to wear clothes embroidered with dragons. If this robe were authentic, it'd be worth an emperor's ransom. It's not just the place's Qing Dynasty feel, however, that enabled it to rank as one of the 60 unmissable restaurants. There's also the revolutionary atmosphere.
The original intention was to restore the courtyard. A lot of things in Beijing are being torn down, welcome people into what Mao's house would have looked like in the 1960s.
When you enter the bar, you'll be captivated by this picture. Entitled Fine Evening, it's by the hand of renowned Chinese painter Jiang Daqian, and every figure in the picture is one of the most important leaders of China. Although this is just a reproduction, everyone is still impressively lifelike. This photo to one side of Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping, taken by his daughter Deng Lin, it captures the very spirit of her father. If you want to make a phone call, there's a surprise in store. Through this phone, you can hear all the important speeches of the great spiritual leader Mao Zedong. This may be the closest you'll ever get to him in your life. Even the sofa you're sitting on has its own story. This sofa comes from the office of the famous 1930s General Lin Biao. Everything here comes from the central office at Zhongnanhai, the center of power in China. Even this spittoon was once used by Deng Xiaoping. Open this door and enter the central courtyard, and you'll be transported to a 1930s air raid shelter, which 70 years ago is just as perfect as a wine cellar. It's not for nothing that this is one of the top 60 rated restaurants. My only quibble is that there's no sign of any kind over the door, so if you want to come, you'll need someone to take you. Near the street food stalls of Beijing, you'll often encounter a certain odor. A bit sour and acrid. You might even call it smelly. This odor comes from 3 types of revered Beijing delicacies. One smells yucky, another is yucky to eat, and the third is yucky to drink. If you follow your nose, the scent will lead you to these black skewered objects. The name tells you everything you need to know. Smelly tofu.
它的很臭的闻，尤其一上油锅以后，它闻起来很臭的，它就像那个王致和臭豆腐那个味道一样，很臭的，但是很好吃的，吃起来很香的，而且你可以试一试，可以品尝一下我们老北京的烤臭豆腐串啊。
Fermented tofu is cooked in black bitter and then sizzled on the grill plate. You can smell it from streets away. Its appearance and smell are enough to send you running. But if you're brave enough to give it a try, you may well fall in love with it.
闻起来很 时候吃起来很香。
这颜色也很漂亮，黑的和白的，
感觉和它的样子不一样。
If you're brave enough to try smelly tofu, you may feel like trying other Beijing specialities as well. This sort of call may well attract your attention.
哎，卤煮火烧哦，好吃了哦，来一碗卤煮，来一碗卤煮。
Lu Zhu Huo Shao, or bitter and cooked flame grilled, is a concoction of pig stripe and fatty pork. The high cholesterol content may put you off, but you may change your mind when you hear about its origin. What is today a snack for the common people is actually derived from an imperial Ming Dynasty dish. This emperor's meal only cost $1 American.
味道不错，很地道，好吃，真特别好吃，要不然流点口水呀。
Smelly tofu and Lu Zhu Huo Shao are vended on every street corner. But if you want the most traditional kind of Beijing convenience food, you'll probably have to search through the whole street. This pot of what looks like soy milk is called mung bean juice and has always been the most traditional drink for the Beijingese.
喝最起码得喝5碗，
因为它这味道最好啊，每天不喝就难受。
Mung bean juice is a byproduct of mung bean flour. After mung beans are ground into flour, the leftover residue is fermented for 4 days and cooked with added water. As for what it tastes like, let's ask them.
Special. Very special.
It tastes good, I think.
Dica good. Good, very good, very good. Baby e tas. Baby dica le bu.
Mung bean juice smells a bit like moldy European cheese, and people have described it as tasting like sour milk mixed with eggs which have gone off. Those who love it say it tastes marvelous, and those who can't take it say it stinks. Once down the throat, 2 words spring to mind: bitter and sour. Because you must drink it while it's hot, you sweat as you drink, and this is supposed to have beneficial effects on health.
这豆汁啊，特别代表北京的特别风味的小吃，那北京人都喜欢它。这个豆汁儿的冬天啊驱寒，夏天避暑。这豆汁对人身体有好处啊，每天喝1碗豆汁就可以不得病。
There's something irresistible about Chinese antiques and collectibles. But there's one thing you must bear in mind before you hand over your money.
My bargaining experience. Be kind and friendly, and when a person tells you the first price, half price.
肯定得看价，谈到他们开始说的那个价钱的1/4。
Apart from haggling, you should also try just leaving. As soon as you turn to leave, they'll lower the price to whatever you want. There are 3 great places to go to in Beijing for antiques and collectibles, which may be graded as high, medium, and low, not in terms of quality of what's on offer, but in terms of the prices. The most highly rated place to go to is this favorite haunt of tourists, Liu Li Chan, or Glaze Factory. There's been an antique market here since the middle of the Ming Dynasty, and the retro mock Qing Dynasty construction is for the benefit of the customers. Every shop has its own speciality, and the prices are higher than anywhere else. The medium-rated place is Antiques City, which is basically a shopping mall devoted solely to antiques. There are over 300 shops over 5 floors and any number of antiques on offer. The huge variety of Chinese antiques boggles the mind. It's here that the tourists who are more familiar with Beijing come to shop. But the antiques market in Beijing that's the most fun has got to be this one, rated low.
这儿是目前来说，样式最丰富，价格我觉得我能承受，我觉得可以接受的，挺便宜的。 我觉得只要是留心的话，可以看到很多别的地方大商店里看不到的一些很有价值、收藏价值的一些古董，哎。
This place is called Panjiayan. With over 3,000 stalls, it's the largest antiques market in Beijing. Panjiayan is also called the Ghost Market, a name that dates from the late Qing dynasty, apparently because of the questionable provenance of many of the objects on sale, which were often stolen or came from down-at-hill aristocrats. The parties would do their business in the dead of night, hence the name Ghost Market. Today, the place has turned into a weekend market open on Saturdays and Sundays. Many people know that China imposes strict regulations on the trade in antiques, which basically means that what you can buy from Lulichang and Antique City would be most likely reproductions or low-value antiques. But at Panjiayan, there may well be priceless treasure waiting to be discovered by you. With over 300 stalls, you can buy everything that 5,000 years of history and 27 provinces have to offer. You can find brightly colored apparel of the ethnic minorities of Yunnan province, or mysterious ritual implements of the Tibetan Buddhism. There are items as big as a dragon bed, supposedly from the palace, to those as small as China's earliest musical instruments. Simple, unadorned ancient bronze utensils and exquisitely crafted traditional frames. You might suddenly come across reproduction 1930s phonographs or extremely rare Chinese comic books. There are also revolutionary collectibles that evoke the communist spirit and ceramics that collectors would give anything for. You'll find everything there. It takes a special skill to find what you want. There's in fact a system to what seems utter chaos. Panjiayan is divided into two different areas. In the middle are the fixed stalls, while on either side are the movable displays laid out right on the ground. From opening time at 5 a.m. or so to closing time at 6 in the evening, it takes a full day to take in all of Panjiayan, so you better make sure you come on a full belly. If you need sustenance, there are hawkers selling drinks and cup noodles, so you can stay on the prowl without having to stop for food and drink. But before you do anything else, be sure to buy a big plastic bag from these guys at the gate for all of your purchases. Ready? Then let's go! Before you go shopping crazy, you have to be clear about your objectives. If you're only looking for artistic value and don't mind reproductions, then head for the fixed stalls in the middle. But if you want to put your critical eye to the test and unearth some treasures, then you should go to these ground-level displays. There's no telling what serendipitous finds will come your way from just a look around.
中国清朝以上的古货，也就是中国的古玩、古董。这个是一个鹿的形象，说是有官有禄，一种吉祥的象兆，官禄。最便宜的就是外国人在我这买过，200元。
The more decrepit it is, the more valuable it may be.
这是苏联的，这是在边境上带过来的，在中苏边境上带过来的。
那要卖多少钱左右？
这个我要8000。
Even a wooden plaque in a dark corner may have a long history.
这个店是道光时代，得卖1万多块钱吧。
A myriad of antiquities, from the really old to the not so old. That's Panjiayan. Even an antique dealer from America is captivated.
In Beijing, I really don't know Beijing that well, but I like this Panjiayan market. I don't know of any other place in China which has so many variety of different things like this market.
Countless antiques, both authentic and fake. Some have bought solid gold sparrows for $20 US. Some have paid $100 US for a Ming Dynasty pear wood chair worth $100,000 US. And some have bought teapots worth $80,000 US for just $15 US. But many more have ended up with ceramics whose colors come off, or with so-called jade that's turned out to be fake. It's a great test of judgment, as well as a great test of bargaining skills. That's where the fun lies in Panjiayun. At the end of the day, it's hard to put a real value on antiques. As long as you feel it's worth the price, why worry about whether it's cheap or expensive, authentic or fake? This is an old Beijing restaurant of a century ago. This is a waiter of the late Qing dynasty, known as Dian Xiao'e. These are typical native dishes of Beijing. This restaurant has a quaint name, Tangun Yun, or Garden at the Root of the Temple. 200 to 300 years ago, during the Ming and Qing dynasties, this restaurant was famous for being the place where carpet merchants congregated. Eating here was a symbol of one's status. A few years ago, the present proprietors renovated the premises and recreated a late Qing, early Republican-era restaurant. When you take a meal here, you also take in the Beijing of 100 years ago. Some say that up to now, there has been 3 stages in the development of Chinese cuisine. The first only involved keeping hunger at bay, while the second involving improving taste. At the third stage, which is where we're at today, the Chinese are beginning to strive for a fusion of food and culture.
那么像这样的文化餐厅，大家不光是来吃来了，更主要呢，感受它文化的氛围。
So what exactly is a cultural restaurant? And how do you fuse food with culture? In 19th century Beijing, having meals while watching performances was a popular pastime. At Tangun Yun, you can experience such performances for yourself. At the same time, you can have a taste of authentic Beijingese cuisine, or the century-old traditional snack, rock candy gourds. The culinary traditions of the northern Chinese are related to those of the northeast and Shandong province. With meat as the mainstay, the cooking is rich and unpretentious. Passed along to the common folk from the kitchens of the Manchurian rulers, this became the typical Beijingese cooking of today. That's why, although Beijingese food may not be much to look at, once you taste it, you'll know that it's truly the repast of emperors. If you're still not satisfied, perhaps you could come here and have a traditional handcrafted toy tailor-made for you. The Monkey King, the God of Wealth, and the Pig Monk are all figures from Chinese mythology. But you can also find more familiar characters like Snoopy, Minnie Mouse, and Mickey Mouse. All the craftsman needs is colored dough and a couple of toothpicks to make all sorts of cute little dough figures. The next time you're in Beijing, remember to take your favorite toy figure along with you as a template and experience another sort of fusion of East and West. If you're Japanese, this guy's outfit may lead you to believe that he's a sushi chef. If you're European, you may think he's a doctor out on a call. And if you're American, you may think he's selling hot dogs. But what he really is a professional hairstylist. In Beijing, there's a peculiar profession: street corner barbers. Rain or shine, wind or snow, they'll be there from 8 in the morning. An executive chair, a mirror, a comb, a pair of scissors. Simple tools of the trade in the service of the people.
分个4块的、3块的、5块的，一天立个10来多个吧，17、18个。
白的，上面啥水果的？
You may have your doubts about getting your haircut for just a few US cents, but you can relax. Every one of them are rated by the government as second-grade hairstylists, and therefore must have achieved a certain standard. Even throwing in a shave only takes it to $1 US. There can't be many cheaper places in the world. This black vacuum-sealed liquid is a special product of Beijing. What do you think it is?
It must be kind of a sauce.
It seems too thick for tea, cha. No, sauce.
Sauce. Well, what's your guess? Before I reveal the answer, let me tell you a story. In 1699, a Chinese medicine shop called Tongrentang opened in Beijing. The shopkeeper, Mr. Law, was famed throughout the city for his philanthropy in giving away medicine to the needy. Eventually, the shop received an imperial warrant to serve the Qing imperial house. There was no better guarantee of the quality of Tongrentang's medicine. Today, Tongrentang has become an international brand, with branches as far away as Great Britain. Tongrentang has thrived for 300 years, thanks to their ceaseless search for improvement, with the creation of over 20,000 preparations to date, which not only cure disease, but also improve health. The shop's 10 most famous medicines can even relieve the effects of strokes and paralysis. Apart from their medical concoctions, Tongrentang's traditional Chinese medics are also famed throughout Beijing. You can see a doctor for a registration fee of just $1 US, although medicine costs extra. Chinese medicine may seem unfathomably mysterious to you, especially its arcane approach to putting together medical ingredients. Over 100 drawers and more than 300 types of Chinese medicine. It'd take ages just to go through their names. But to a master pharmacist with over 20 years' experience, it's child's play. 3 taels are the equivalent of 9 grams. There's very little margin for error. The most troublesome thing about Chinese medicine is that you have to cook it. For your convenience, they can cook the medicine for you and then vacuum seal it, so that you can drink it at any time. By now, I'm sure you know what the bag contains. It's about $20 US for a consultation plus 3 days' worth of medicine. If you're in Beijing, you should pay Tongrentang a visit, even if you don't feel unwell, and take a look at 5,000 years of medical wisdom and the wonderful way the pharmacist has with his herbs. There's a certain Chinese delicacy originating in Beijing which has swept across most of China and indeed much of the world. It's a dish that rich and poor alike will never miss having at Chinese New Year. Its name is the dumpling. The dumpling is the main staple of northern China and is as important to the northern Chinese as bread is to Westerners.
我曾经最多吃过18个，我一盘吧，15、16个左右那样的。
应该是有30多个吧。
It would be a shame if you were to visit Beijing without trying dumplings. Dumplings are a type of food similar to Italian tortellini, in that they're made by filling meats or vegetables inside a thin pastry. As they're simple to make, nearly all Beijingese know how to prepare them. Because they're shaped like the type of gold ingots, which were used as currency in ancient China, they represent prosperity, and are considered an auspicious dish for Chinese New Year. The varieties of this modest food, though, may well surprise you. This is Beijing's most famous restaurant, which specializes in dumplings, and which Japanese gourmets have rated as the best in the world. This is the all-dumpling banquet for which this place is famous. Nothing but dumplings for an entire meal may strike you as a bit dull, unless you realize that there are 12 different varieties, each with their own taste and design. The first to appear are the rabbit and the pig, which aren't filled with rabbit meat or pork. Instead, they're filled with lotus seed paste and red bean paste, cute and delicious. Dumpling fillings aren't limited to such things as minced pork or chicken. Even expensive seafood like abalone and shark's fin can also be used as ingredients. The tastiness of abalone is unforgettable, and shark's fin, so revered by the Chinese, is a delicacy among delicacies when matched with a good soup base. After so much rich food, how about some vegetarian dumplings? The crispiness of diced turnip and the sweetness of Chinese cabbage and the unique fragrance of shoots and mushrooms are three great features of vegetarian dumplings. But don't stuff yourself yet. There's still the piece de la resistance. The Imperial Dragon Hot Pot is where the essence of the whole feast lies. This is the favorite dish of the Qing Dynasty Empress Dowager Cixi. Legend has it that she loved dumplings, but normal ones were too big and filled her up too quickly. So she ordered dumplings to be made as small as possible and had ground pearl put into them for their beauty-enhancing properties. Thus was born the pearl dumpling.
在分餐的当中有一些不太均匀，当您品尝到一个饺子的时候，祝您一帆风顺；2个饺子好事成双；3个饺子祝您连升3级；4个饺子4季发财；5个饺子5福同寿；6个饺子6大顺。
Serving dumplings is all about auspiciousness. Making them is all about craftsmanship. And eating them is all about enhancing beauty. This complicated Imperial Dragon Hot Pot and the Empress Dowager were really made for each other. For only $58 US, you can have all 12 different types of dumplings plus the Imperial Dragon Hot Pot.
可不可以告诉我们北京最好吃的3种食物是什么？像北京烤鸭，还有什么？还有饺子，还有皇帝菜。
有涮羊肉，烤鸭，还有饺子。对了，还有一个玉山。
Have you tried them all yet? Getting a bit tired of them? Then would you like to try some European cuisine in Beijing? How about something that's not even that common in Europe itself? Belgian food. This is Beijing's only authentic Belgian restaurant, and the owner-cum-chef isn't just any run-of-the-mill cook. Morel is a world-class chef who was the winner of 2 prestigious cookery contests in 1985 and 1987. Taking the top award from the Académie Culinaire de France, as well as the Monaco Grand Cordon d'Or. The Monaco Grand Cordon d'Or is a particularly prestigious award. As to get one, you have to wait till a holder passes away before you can even be nominated. There are only 36 chefs in the world who hold the title, but this particular one apparently didn't even like cooking when he was young.
Oh, well, I like cooking. Actually, I didn't like cooking, but my father pushed me to the pastry school.
But today, Monsieur Morel not only loves cooking, he does so with a passion. Take this Flemish beer beef stew, for example. It's an authentic Belgian royal dish, which nowadays many chefs cut corners on, like not using paprika in the marinade or even not using cream in the sauce. Morel, though, insists on the traditional method of preparation, which is why on a visit to Beijing, even the Prince of Belgium came to try his Flemish beer beef stew. The distinctive features of Belgian cuisine are that it combines the taste of German food with the presentation of French food, and that beer is often used in the cooking. Monsieur Morel has been head chef in many first-class hotels in order to get more people to try Belgian food. After spending years in many different countries, he speaks French, German, Spanish and English, but has remained stumped by Chinese. So why did he open a restaurant in Beijing? It seems that the only reason is that the love of his life is a Chinese lady. So here, you can not only get a taste of the culinary skills of a world-class chef, you can also admire his romanticism. Traditional Chinese purses are different from their modern counterparts, in that they were also ornaments that men and women, rich and poor, and young and old alike, would wear in the olden days. They are one of the most representative types of traditional collectibles. It usually took about a year to embroider a Chinese purse, and every stitch represents the embroiderer's painstaking care and love. They are symbols of the reservedness in the Chinese character. The patterns on the purses are also very meaningful. This, for instance, is a Chinese folktale about a pious son who, in order to catch a fish to cook for his sick mother, lay naked on a frozen pond to melt the ice. Filial piety is one of the greatest of Chinese virtues. Obviously, though, most of the stories are about romantic love. Apart from having a huge variety of patterns, Chinese purses also have great differences in shape. Chinese purses have been popular from the Sui dynasty in the 6th and 7th centuries to the end of the Qing dynasty and the early Republican era in the early 20th century. With the Cultural Revolution in 1966, however, many of them were destroyed as being representative of the decadent past. But luckily, this man has preserved many examples.
我店里的东西和我家里的东西全是我自己，都是我一个人收藏的。从一开始真是几分钱、几毛钱、几块钱的事，一开始就是这样。
Wang Jinghua started to collect purses from all over China in the 1970s. By now, Mr. Wang has amassed over 1,500 items. Their worth is incalculable, and they have made him a famous collector in China.
因为我一开始接触这荷包的时候，我看到荷包上绣的好多东西啊，都属于中国，5000年文化的好多古典故事，而且中国的好多古典故事都在这个各种各样的荷包上显示出来。
Last year, an American collector offered to buy the most valuable items in the collection for $100 apiece, but he couldn't bear to be parted from any of them. It's because they weren't easy to come by.
我和我爱人攒了700多块钱，也就是3年吧，攒了700多块钱，已经是挺多的了吧？一次买了是20多个荷包。当时买了荷包之后，回来之后我在这自己在看，一个一个的看，哎，我看着特别高兴，我看着就是，可是都入神了。当时我爱人回来说：“你买这什么东西？700块钱？”我说：“就是这东西。”当时气得3天没跟我说话。
The purses here are all authentic folk antiques. In its time, each and every one of them have been treasured by some common Chinese person for half a lifetime.
最大的价值啊，我现在体会到了，我把中国这个100年以前那种文化，现在保存下来了。
In very few cases, Mr. Wang has sold a small number of his collection to those he deemed worthy. The next time you're here, perhaps you might like to get a token of love for your true love, or you could just partake of a part of Chinese culture with Mr. Wang. Traditional Chinese culture is such an immense topic that we can't even begin to give you a comprehensive overview in what time we have. But if you're really interested in learning something about it, the old-style thread-bound books here might be a great place to start. Thread-bound books are the sort of books found in ancient China. Bound by hand with thread, they were the means by which Chinese culture was disseminated for thousands of years. The China Bookshop was established in 1952, with its main aim being the rediscovery and rescuing of ancient thread-bound volumes which have become lost. Over the years, they have managed to rescue over 6 million volumes. The most valuable items are now in national libraries, but the leftovers are on sale here. Of course, they still cost a fair bit. You can buy familiar works on the ancient philosophy of Confucius and Mencius, the historical annal Spring and Autumn, the Book of Rites, as well as great works of military strategy like The Art of War by Sun Tzu. For something more recent, you can buy a collection of Mao Zedong's calligraphy and admire his characteristic way with the ink brush. These thread-bound books aren't just objects of great artistic value, they're also worth quite a lot. Prices range from 10 or more US dollars to over $1,000. The annual turnover is about 3 million US dollars, accounting for a third of the shop's takings.
最好玩的当然是像名胜古迹长城、故宫啦。
我觉得可能是长城吧，
故宫啊。
什么呢？
我觉得这比较普及的也挺好玩的，篮球什么的。
You might think the kid's talking nonsense, but in fact, there's a very remarkable basketball court in one of Beijing's 4-star hotels. Every evening at 8, the center of the restaurant in this hotel will transform itself into a basketball court. Fully automated hoops descend from the heavens. Safety netting appears all round. And both the players inside and the diners outside are happy. This is the only sports-themed restaurant in Beijing. All sorts of sports are on offer here. You'll find darts in lots of bars, and billiard tables are nothing unusual. But you probably wouldn't expect golf. Even the desserts revolve around a sporting theme. If you're a soccer fan, this football-shaped ice cream sundae will have your mouth watering. There's much more to Beijing than the Forbidden City and the Great Wall. This is the most famous night spot in Beijing, Sanlituan. You may have heard of Beijing's famous watering hole. The bars and discos here may have you believing that you're no longer in Beijing. Prior to 1995, this was just a small commercial street. But by the end of 1996, no fewer than 36 bars have opened on this street, which is only 1.5 kilometers long. Today, there are almost 90 bars centered around the Sanlituan area. The later it is, the more exciting it becomes. At first, about 95% of customers were foreigners working in Beijing, but now the 95% consists of Chinese.
感觉挺好的，这里的酒吧比较集中，别的地方酒吧呢就比较分散一些，而且这边气氛比较好，
浪漫。
You wouldn't expect a place like this would disappear. But because the Beijing government wants to replan the Sanlituan area, this hedonist's paradise will disappear in June 2001.
觉得挺失望的。
只能说非常遗憾吧。但是尽自己最大努力，能多来就多来。
我希望他不裁了。
Whether you've been to Sanlituan or not, the news might make you want to come and soak in the atmosphere before it's gone. But there's no need to feel sad. Even without Sanlituan, Beijing is still a very exciting place.
北京好玩的太多了，来北京吧。
The nightlife at Sanlituan will become a part of Beijing's history. No one who's been here will ever forget it. At this moment, have you thought of adding Beijing to your lifetime's worth of memories? Drinking a bowl of warming mung bean juice in the piercingly cold wind, and then going for a street corner haircut at the hands of a world-class stylist. Shopping around to your heart's delight at China's largest antiques market at Panjianyuan. Looking for a gift for the person you love, and discovering that most meaningful token of love is an embroidered Chinese purse. These may all be reasons for you to fall in love with Beijing, but then you may not need any reason at all to fall in love with this great city.
有一个美丽的传说。